The West Country is famous for its farmhouse cheddar, and here at Denhay Farm in Dorset, they've been making their own unique brand of cheddar cheese for over 50 years. Denhay Farm nestles amongst the valleys of Marshwood Vale, 3 miles from the West Dorset coast. It's a beautiful part of the country where fertile grasslands provide ample grazing for the dairy herds owned by Denhay.
Denhay Cheddar special because we own all the cows that make the milk for us. We know the history of all of those cows. We grow all the grass. We know exactly what goes on the grass to make the milk, and we know exactly what our milk's going to be like every day, so that we can make sure we have consistent cheese, consistent quality.
Over the years, the business has expanded to nearly 2,000 acres, and Denhay now has over 1,000 cows. These are Friesian Holsteins, selected for the high protein quality of their milk. They're fed on a diet of grass and forage crop silage, supplemented with wheat and soya cereals, and live outside during the summer months when the grass is rich. The cows are brought in for milking twice a day, and this milk is transported the short journey from the dairy farms down the road to the cheese house, where it's transferred into large vats.
We collect the milk from our 5 dairies. We bring about 20,000 litres in a day, and we bring it in here and we store it in these vats overnight. It's cooled on the dairies, and then we run it from the vat through this machine, through all this pipe work, and pasteurise it.
The pasteurisation starts around 4:30 in the morning. This is the process of heating the milk to 72 degrees to kill unwanted bacteria. After a couple of hours, the 2 vats, which hold over 2,500 gallons each, are nearly full, and milk is ready for the starter culture to be added. This converts milk sugar into lactic acid, helping the milk to coagulate. Eventually, one of these vats will make over a ton of cheese. The temperature of the milk is tested before the final ingredient, a vegetarian enzyme called rennet, is added. Time is a critical factor in the process because these ingredients are natural living organisms that continually change the state of the milk. Rather like the way a cooking recipe is followed, the cheesemaker balances the strict time schedule with his years of experience in judging the condition of the product.
What we tell when that's ready, if you push it down, it comes away from the side like that, no? It tells when that's ready, so we'll put that on and cut that now.
This is the start of the milk transformation into solids and liquids, or curds and whey. The separation is helped by mechanical cutters. These slowly break up the set milk to create the smaller particles.
Yeah, what we're doing now, we're cutting the curd, we're separating the curd from the whey. As you can see, that's all the big particles. We've got to get them down to about that size there. It takes about 10 minutes.
Heat is then applied to scald or cook the curd.
Just put some steam on to start the cooking process. That will firm this up. We've got to take this from 33 degrees up to 40 in an hour. Makes it firmer. You feel that now, that's really soft. That'll be firm, hour's time.
When the cheesemaker judges the product to be ready, it's transferred into long cooling trays. At this point, the whey begins draining off, leaving the curd particles to firm up. Further whey liquids are removed as the curds are stirred and shovelled to encourage distribution. A sample of the whey is taken for every tray and the acidity level checked and recorded to ensure consistency of the product. Once the curd has been left to drain and firm up, the curd is hand-cut with a stainless steel knife. This helps the curd to separate and form into blocks, which can then be turned. This manual process has been carried out the same way every day for over 40 years. The turning process encourages the remaining whey to drain off, with the weight of the curd on top squeezing the liquid out underneath, leaving a solid lump of curd ready for milling. It may look easy, but these curds by now are extremely heavy. One of these weighs as much as 2 or 3 bags of sugar, and these men will have turned over 1 ton of cheese in this vat alone. By now, the curd is starting to look like the cheese it will become. It has an elasticy texture and the consistency of chicken breast. This has taken around 3 to 4 hours. The curd blocks are then put into the milling machine, which cuts them back into small pieces. Salt is then sprinkled by hand and stirred into the curds, which slows down the fermentation of the curd, enabling it to start its maturation into cheese. Finally, the curds are poured into cloth-lined moulds ready for pressing. Extremely high pressure is exerted on the cheese overnight, squeezing out any final liquids to give the cheese its hard-pressed texture. The next day, the moulds are emptied and the cheese blocks are individually wrapped to seal them so that no air can get in. Wooden slats are strapped onto the cheese. These protect the product from any knocks or squashing. The blocks are date and traceability labelled and then taken to the store where they're kept on pallets and regularly checked. The cheese will mature for at least 9 months before it's considered ready for sale. Grading takes place at 3 months to ascertain the quality of the cheese in terms of colour, texture, smell and taste.
What a beautiful ball that is.
The cheesemakers are looking for a clean, buttery flavour that's not too acidic in the mouth, and the cheese should have a firm body with an appearance similar to candle wax. Denhay's maturing room has its own living environment, with a particular set of organisms which help to define the cheese's characteristic.
Its body, its quality are unique to Denhay. Nobody else can have that. Only Denhay can have those bugs, and those are the ones that we keep going year on year. The skills they've got have taken, particularly the cheesemaker, have taken years to build up. We can only make cheese the way we make it by getting really hands-on. We've got to feel the curd, we've got to make sure that the curd is the right quality every day, and we can only do that by putting our hands on the curd. We actually make it in a very similar way to the way we did 50 years ago. We're still cheddaring the cheese in the traditional way. We're turning it by hand, we're cutting it with little stainless steel knives. You know, it's mechanised to take a little bit of the lifting out, but not a lot more than that. And all that takes years of experience so that we can make sure we have consistent cheese, consistent quality. That's what's